Civilizations are born on rivers, and when rivers die, so do empires. For more than 5,000 years, the Euphrates has been the lifeline of Mesopotamia, feeding the gardens of Babylon, flowing beneath the walls of Nineveh, and carrying armies of kings who believed the gods themselves blessed their rule. It's no exaggeration to say, without the Euphrates, there would be no civilization as we know it. But here's where the story turns darker, because the Euphrates is drying. Not slowly, but at a pace that scientists, governments, and even soldiers have been forced to acknowledge. Entire stretches of the riverbed now lie cracked and exposed, revealing ruins, tunnels, and artifacts no one expected to see in our lifetime. And yet, so little of it makes the news. Why? Ask yourself, why are photos restricted, reports buried, and eyewitnesses silenced? Why did archaeologists, during the 2003 invasion of Iraq, whisper about sealed chambers unearthed near the Euphrates, artifacts swiftly taken under military escort, never seen again? The Book of Revelation warned of 4 angels bound in the great river, waiting to be released when the waters run dry. Today, as prophecy collides with politics and archaeology, the world faces a question too chilling to ignore. What is really happening beneath the Euphrates? And why are we only allowed to hear fragments of the truth? Stay with me, because this is forbidden history. Mythic foundations, the Euphrates in ancient texts, long before modern borders carved. The Middle East into nations, there was Mesopotamia, the land between 2 rivers, the Tigris, and more importantly, the Euphrates. To the Sumerians, this river wasn't just water. It was destiny. Babylon rose on its banks, its temples shimmering in the desert sun. Assyria and Akkad drew their power from its flow. Ancient hymns call the Euphrates the river that gives life. Kings staked their thrones on its currents, and when it shifted course, whole empires collapsed. But the Euphrates isn't only history, it's a prophecy. The Hebrew Bible mentions it as a boundary of Eden. The Book of Revelation describes 4 angels bound in its depths, waiting for release, and the chilling words, "The water of the great Euphrates was dried up," to prepare the way for the kings of the East. Dr. Leonard Matthews, an ancient Near Eastern scholar once interviewed by the BBC, put it bluntly, "The Euphrates is not just a river in Scripture, it is a countdown clock." Ask yourself, what happens when myth, archaeology, and satellite imagery all converge on the same warning? What happens when a prophecy written nearly 2,000 years ago seems to align with what scientists are watching today from space? The Euphrates has always been a mirror of power, but now, as it shrinks, it may be reflecting something far more terrifying, an ending written before we were even born. Historical turning points, the river and empires for thousands of years, the Euphrates has been the silent architect of power. Assyria's armies marched along its waters, building a kingdom of fear and conquest. Babylon turned it into a channel of glory, its canals feeding the hanging gardens, one of the ancient wonders of the world. Persia, too, drew its strength from the river's control, using it as a lifeline for trade, armies, and culture. But the Euphrates could be merciless. Floods swept away villages, feeding legends of divine punishment. Droughts starved the land, birthing stories of kings who lost heaven's favor. To ancient peoples, the river was alive, bestowing power, but also stripping it away without warning. Even in later centuries, empires wrestled with its current. The Ottomans marked it as a boundary of their rule. Colonial cartographers, pens in hand, carved borders along its course, deciding the fate of nations not yet born. And each time the river shifted, each time it carved a new path, political maps had to bend with it. History whispers a pattern. When the Euphrates changes, empires fall. When its waters vanish, civilizations stumble. So ask yourself, what does it mean that today the Euphrates is drying faster than at any point in recorded history? Is it mere climate, or the same silent force that has ended kingdoms before? Because if the past is any guide, when the Euphrates changes, the world changes with it. Modern drying environmental and political crisis look at the Euphrates today, not through myth, but through the cold lens of satellites. NASA and UN reports confirm what locals have been shouting for years: the river is shrinking. Once mighty stretches are now reduced to muddy trickles. Entire reservoirs are collapsing into dust. From space, what should be a blue artery cutting across the desert appears fractured, thinning, almost lifeless. Why? Part of the answer lies in politics. Turkey's massive dam projects choke the river upstream, diverting its flow for hydroelectric power. Syria and Iraq downstream scramble for what little remains, sparking tension that borders on water warfare. Behind every closed-door negotiation is the unspoken truth. Whoever controls the Euphrates controls survival itself. But beyond politics are the voices of ordinary people. Iraqi farmers walking away from fields their families have tilled for generations. Fishermen hauling up empty nets from waters that once teemed with life. Villages turning to ghost towns as the river that fed them for centuries disappears. And here's where history collides with the present. In the National Museum of Iraq, ancient clay tablets describe irrigation systems collapsing after droughts thousands of years ago, warning that when the Euphrates falters, famine follows. The echoes are chilling. Radar scans allegedly conducted by international teams revealed strange structures beneath exposed riverbeds, findings that were never made public. A Freedom of Information request for U.S. military satellite data from the region, marked no longer available. Ask yourself, is this just climate change, politics, and neglect? Or are we witnessing something older, something foretold, the slow unsealing of a prophecy? The prophecy resurfaces revelation and mystery in the book of Revelation. A haunting image emerges. 4 angels bound at the great river Euphrates, waiting for release. Their freedom, it says, will unleash a catastrophe army marching across the dry riverbed, preparing for a final war. For centuries, it was dismissed as allegory, apocalyptic poetry. But today, as the Euphrates retreats, those words echo louder than ever. Interpretations vary. Some see the kings of the East as ancient symbolism. Others point to modern power armies in Asia, rising superstates ready to march. The symbolism once confined to scripture is colliding with today's geopolitics. And then there are the whispers. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, as tanks rolled across the desert, archaeologists reportedly stumbled on sealed chambers near the Euphrates. Rumors spoke of artifacts rushed away under armed convoy, escorted not to museums, but to military bases. No photos were released, no reports published, just silence. Here is the escalation, an ancient warning, a modern drought, a geopolitical flashpoint, and perhaps a supernatural fulfillment. So ask yourself, is it all a coincidence? Or is history repeating with terrifying precision, as if we are living inside a script written long before our time? Because if the Euphrates prophecy is real, its countdown has already begun. Conspiracy and cover-ups, forbidden history threads. The deeper you dig into the Euphrates, the stranger the story becomes. Eyewitnesses from 2003 spoke of sealed crates, lifted from excavation sites along the river, hauled away under armed escort. These weren't museum transfers, they were military operations. And the artifacts? Never seen again. Radar and LiDAR scans, leaked years later, hint at something extraordinary: vast subterranean structures under the riverbed. Corridors, chambers, some say even colossal shapes resembling figures carved into the earth itself. Yet these scans were swiftly classified, their release blocked under national security. Freedom of Information requests targeting U.S. military satellite imagery of the Euphrates, stamped with the same phrase, unavailable. How can a riverbed be too sensitive for the public eye? And then there's the silence. Archaeologists who once hinted at discoveries have gone quiet. Academic journals that should be buzzing with analysis print nothing. Museums offer no comment. A silence too uniform, too deliberate. Why are the world's most powerful governments interested in a drying river? What secret could be buried beneath its waters that demands soldiers instead of scholars? From hidden tombs, to military convoys, to vanishing evidence, the pattern is clear. Something is there. Something someone doesn't want you to know. So the question becomes, what truth is too dangerous to admit? Escalation: why the world is afraid the Euphrates is no longer just a river. It is a fault line. Upstream, Turkey builds dams that throttle the flow. Downstream, Syria and Iraq accuse them of weaponizing water. Tensions flare, villages vanish, and whispers of water wars grow louder each year. In a region already scarred by conflict, the drying of the Euphrates is becoming the spark that could ignite something far greater. At the same time, religious groups around the world point to prophecy. They see the river's decline not as politics or climate, but as the fulfillment of revelation. Online movements echo the same refrain: the kings of the East are preparing, and the drying Euphrates is the sign. For millions, this isn't just news, it's destiny unfolding in real time. But strip away the faith and the politics, and one truth remains: rivers are lifeblood. Every empire, every city built along the Euphrates depended on its waters to survive. When a river dies, civilizations collapse. So ask yourself, what happens when the river that birthed civilization becomes the river that ends it? Is the Euphrates simply another casualty of human neglect and ambition? Or is this the moment ancient warnings foretold the unraveling of a prophecy that has waited millennia to arrive? Because what we're seeing today may not be the end of the story. It may only be the beginning. Outro: from Babylon's gardens to Revelation's visions, the Euphrates has carried the weight of human destiny. But myth isn't just the past. It's an unfinished story, written in water and sand, and we are living in its final chapter. The river is vanishing, the prophecies are echoing. And yet, what lies beneath remains hidden: sealed chambers, silenced reports, unanswered questions. Ask yourself, is this the natural cycle of rivers and empires, or the unraveling of something older, darker, foretold? The Euphrates is drying, and the prophecy is unfolding. But the question is, what comes next? This is forbidden history. Stay curious, stay questioning. Because in a world of silence, the quietest truths are often the loudest evidence.